It was Christmas Day 2019. In homes across Michigan and all over America, families were gathering. The air was filled with the scent of pine and roasting turkey, the sounds of wrapping paper tearing, and the warm, familiar laughter of loved ones. It's a day synonymous with comfort, with safety, with coming home. But in the small, quiet community of Swartz Creek, just outside of Flint, a family was gripped by a cold, gnawing fear. Kevin Bacon, a 25-year-old son, brother and friend, had not shown up for Christmas breakfast. This wasn't like him. Not at all. His phone went straight to voicemail. The texts he'd sent the night before saying he was having fun and might not make it home now felt ominous. The festive lights strung on houses seemed to twinkle with a sinister edge. The holiday cheer had curdled, replaced by the dread of the unknown. This is the story of how a search for a missing young man led to a discovery so brutal it would shock a community and unravel a tale of premeditated horror, hidden deep within the rural landscape of Bennington Township. A story that begins on a dating app and ends in a basement, with a man who would confess to acts almost too terrible to comprehend. This is the case of Mark Latunski. Let's get to know Kevin Bacon. And no, not the actor. This Kevin Bacon was a 25-year-old man with a vibrant spirit and a future that shone brightly. He was a talented hairdresser, known for his skill with bold colours and his own collection of intricate tattoos. But he wasn't just an artist, he was also a student at the University of Michigan Flint, studying psychology. His friends and family said he had a deep-seated desire to help people to understand the human mind. He dreamed of becoming a clinical therapist. His best friend would later describe him as a colourful, vibrant being, both inside and out. He was the kind of person who paid attention, who truly listened. He was, by all accounts, a beautiful soul. On Christmas Eve, Kevin, like many young adults, was balancing family time with his own social life. He had plans to meet up with someone. In the modern age of dating, he turned to his phone, to the popular app Grindr. He connected with a man. His last communication to his roommate was a text message that has since become a chilling piece of the puzzle. He was having fun, he said. He might not be home that night. And then, silence. Christmas morning arrived. Kevin's family waited and waited. The plate set for him remained empty. The presents meant for him stayed unopened. The worry turned to panic, and a missing persons report was filed. The investigation began immediately. Police, armed with the knowledge of his last known plans, started pulling digital records. They traced the digital breadcrumbs from his phone straight to a modest single-story home on a quiet, wooded lot in Bennington Township. The home belonged to a 50-year-old man named Mark Latunski. On December 26th, just 2 days after Christmas, police officers arrived at Mark Latunski's door. They were conducting a welfare check on a missing person. They needed to know if he had seen Kevin Bacon. What's remarkable is that Latunski was cooperative. He didn't slam the door. He didn't lawyer up. He invited the officers inside. He even consented to a search of his property. It was a move that seemed, on the surface, to suggest he had nothing to hide. But as officers moved through the house, the atmosphere must have shifted. They descended the stairs into the basement, and there, in the dim, cool light, they found a scene of pure, unadulterated horror. Kevin Bacon's body was suspended from the ceiling rafters by his ankles, hanging completely naked, upside down. It was a sight straight out of a slaughterhouse. The scene was so disturbing, so ritualistic, that it immediately signaled this was far more than a simple homicide. Mark Latunski was taken into custody.
The search for 25-year-old Kevin Bacon was called off after Michigan State Police say they found Bacon's body at this home in Bennington Township this morning.
Sounds like there was a weirdo living down there.
State police took a 50-year-old man into custody for open murder.
Police officer told me they're going to be down there all day.
One neighbor says it's not the first encounter he's had on the street. He had one man show up on his doorstep back in November.
He grasped my arm and started asking for help as a gentleman pulled in my driveway and started approaching him saying, everything's fine, and he's saying, keep him away, keep him away.
While many questions remain unanswered, those who were close to Kevin are remembering him as sweet and full of love.
He had this light about him, this sparkling personality that it drew you to him.
Crystal Grosshart is a managing partner at Vintage Beauty in Swartz Creek and worked with Kevin and says his work and passion as a hairstylist was unmatched.
He was an artist. Yeah, he was a very talented artist. Like his vivid work, like with vivid colors, with the blues and the pinks and the purples.
She was at work when the news broke, and it hasn't been easy.
Everyone who works here is just devastated. I didn't handle it very well. I definitely cried.
And in the interrogation room, he began to talk. And the story he told was so graphic, so monstrous, that it would sear itself into the minds of every investigator in the room. He confessed, calmly and with detail. He told them that, after meeting Kevin on Grindr and bringing him back to his home, he had bound him and then, in a calculated move, stabbed him in the back. This was the fatal blow. But he wasn't done. He then slit Kevin's throat. After the victim was deceased, he suspended the body from the ceiling. But the horror did not end there. Latunski admitted to mutilating the body. He confessed to castrating Kevin Bacon. And then, in the most shocking admission of all, he told the detectives that he had consumed the removed body parts. He had engaged in an act of cannibalism.
Is that after he was dead, he was hanging, I was done for the night, and it was then that I started to do what I told him I was going to do. It was the new moon, and in honoring my word to what I said I would do, that was when I took I cut them out, and I took them upstairs and I ate them.
As the investigation deepened, even more chilling details emerged. Court documents would later reveal that prior to the murder, Latunski had gone online and purchased a food dehydrator. He expressed, in his own words, an intention to use other parts of Kevin's body to make jerky. He spoke of using human remains as fertilizer. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was premeditation. This was a plan. So, who was Mark Latunski? The public image was a complex, contradictory one. He was a 50-year-old man, a father of 4 children. He was a man with a formidable intellect, holding a master's degree in chemistry and even having his name on several patents. By all professional accounts, he was a smart man. But beneath that surface existed a turbulent and deeply disturbed mind. As his case moved through the legal system, a history of severe, documented mental illness began to surface. During previous divorce and child custody battles, court records revealed a series of stark diagnoses from mental health professionals. Mark Latunski had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. He was also diagnosed with major depressive disorder with psychotic features, and he displayed strong traits of borderline personality disorder. These diagnoses weren't new. They dated back to at least 2010 and 2012. His ex-wife provided haunting testimony. She stated that when Latunski was off his prescribed medication, his behaviour would become erratic and dark. He would, she said, watch what she described as torture movies. And perhaps most terrifying of all, it became clear that Kevin Bacon was not the first man to be in grave danger at the hands of Mark Latunski. In the months leading up to the murder, 2 other men had narrow, terrifying escapes. In October of 2019, just 2 months before Kevin's murder, a man met Latunski and went back to his home. He later told police he was drugged, and when he woke up, he was chained in Latunski's basement. He managed to break free and flee the property. In November, another incident occurred. A neighbour reported seeing a man half naked and bleeding, running from Latunski's home screaming for help. The man escaped. Tragically, neither of these men pressed charges. The system had multiple red flags, bright crimson warnings that a predator was at work, and yet he remained free.
I'm trying to escape from some guy who had me chained up in his basement.
He had you chained in his basement? Where are you calling from?
I don't know.
Two separate phone calls to Shiawassee County Dispatch last year reveal two separate incidents of men claiming to have escaped from Mark Latunski's basement. Latunski was charged with murder and mutilation in connection with the death of 25-year-old Kevin Bacon late last year. The recordings were obtained by TV5 through the Freedom of Information Act. One of the calls was placed on November 25th of 2019 by a man who said he escaped from Latunski's home and needed help.
After me.
Hey, Z, I need you to go somewhere safe. If you can run up to somebody's house.
The dispatcher later identifies the man's location over the phone and sends troopers there.
Are you in the road? I have some state troopers that aren't very far away.
I see the trooper right there. Yeah.
This followed an incident on October 10th involving a different man.
I broke out of the and I need a ride. Okay.
The dispatcher attempts to calm the man who believes he's been drugged.
I met this guy. I'm by. He was cute. He hit on me. I don't know. We went out to the car. We talked. We went to the store. Had a soda. I woke up in the basement. Okay. He obviously drugged me.
The man then reveals to the dispatcher that he's carrying a butcher knife, which he says he used to escape. The dispatcher later discovers the man's location and advises him to lower the weapon before encountering the police.
I think this is a cop because that looks like an extra bright light, so I am now putting this down. I am unarmed. It is on the guardrail. Yes, sir, I am. I'm not armed. I'm just really happy to see you.
Police also say both men declined to press charges.
The final catastrophic outcome was waiting in the wings, and it would arrive on Christmas Eve in the form of Kevin Bacon. With a confession and such overwhelming physical evidence, one might think the path to justice would be swift. But the case of Mark Latunski would become mired in the complex and often frustrating world of criminal competency for the next 3 years. The central question was this: was Mark Latunski mentally fit to stand trial? Did he understand the charges against him? Could he assist in his own defense? Initially, the answer from the court was no. He was found incompetent to stand trial. He was sent to a state psychiatric facility for treatment. The wheels of justice ground to a halt, leaving Kevin Bacon's family in a painful limbo, desperate for closure but forced to wait while the man who admitted to killing their son received treatment. But then, a shift. After months of treatment and medication, a re-evaluation was conducted. The finding was reversed. Mark Latunski was now deemed competent. The case was back on. In September of 2022, in a move that surprised many, Mark Latunski stood before a judge and pleaded guilty. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of open murder and 1 count of mutilation of a dead body.
Latunski pleaded guilty to the murder and mutilation of the 25-year-old. Investigators say Latunski admitted to stabbing Kevin, hanging him from the ceiling in his Bennington Township home, and then consuming parts of his body.
Then we don't have to go through a lengthy trial, seeing Kevin's pictures again in court. Maybe we want to go through all that.
But Bacon's family wants Latunski to go through his own personal nightmare, although they don't believe there is a punishment severe enough for what Latunski did to their son.
I'm going to try to shoot for life without parole, which is obviously for taking somebody's life. That's what he should get.
They are now left to cling to the memories of Kevin's life, as no form of justice will bring back their son. Lanita Brooks, WNEM, TV5.
Now, because of his plea, there would be no jury trial. Instead, a unique legal proceeding called a degree hearing was scheduled. The judge, the Honourable Matthew Stewart, would now have to listen to all the evidence and decide the degree of the murder. Was this first-degree murder, which requires premeditation and carries a mandatory sentence of life without parole, or was it second-degree murder, which does not require premeditation and offers the possibility of parole? For days, the court heard the gruesome details, the Grindr messages, the confession, the purchase of the dehydrator, the history of mental illness, the escaped victims. It was all laid bare. And in October 2022, Judge Stewart delivered his verdict. He called the murder a crime of cold calculation. He pointed to the evidence of planning, the restraints, the specific tools used, the online research. He found Mark Latunski guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. The final act came in December 2022. In a sentencing hearing, Kevin Bacon's family finally had their chance to face the man who took their son, brother, and friend. They delivered powerful, heart-wrenching victim impact statements, painting a picture of their immense loss and enduring pain. And then Judge Stewart passed the sentence that the law demanded and the evidence supported. Mark Latunski was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom doors closed, the gavel had fallen. Mark Latunski was led away to spend the rest of his days in a cell, a final, grim confinement for a man whose mind had already been a prison. But what is the legacy of this case? It's a story of two men forever linked in tragedy. On one side, there is Mark Latunski, a stark reminder of the devastating potential of untreated severe mental illness, a man with a bright mind consumed by a darkness that he ultimately acted upon. His case raises difficult, lingering questions about the systems meant to identify and contain such dangers, especially when red flags are waved but not acted upon. And on the other side, there is the legacy of Kevin Bacon. It is crucial now more than ever to remember him not for how he died, but for how he lived. He was the vibrant hairstylist, the caring friend, the aspiring therapist who wanted to heal the human mind. His life was a collection of bright colours, laughter and ambition, a life brutally and unfairly cut short. The Mark Latunski case is a harrowing chapter in the annals of true crime, a perfect storm of digital dating danger, premeditated violence, and profound mental illness. It serves as a chilling reminder that monsters are not always strangers in alleyways. Sometimes they are the seemingly ordinary men living in quiet houses, their horrifying intentions hidden just beneath the surface, waiting for a knock on the door that comes too late. And with that, that's all for this chapter. Take care of yourselves.